Welcome back to our afternoon session. And this is a perfect opportunity, again, leveling our practice, creating more imprints to do practice, to once again reestablish a motivation. So it's a great time to do that. Any type of course, any type of activity, you can always remind yourself that what I'm doing here is for all living beings. And the best way for me to help all living beings is to become a Buddha, to come from that enlightened consciousness. So may any imprints from today, may that be directed in that way. So just take a moment to set that motivation once again. So we were talking about the ripening effects. Just to review a little bit, the results of the 10 non-virtues. So this is non-virtuous activity that result in a complete karma. There's what's called, again, the ripened result. That is what kind of rebirth you'll take. Number 2, results similar to the cause. They're called results similar to the cause. So there's experiences similar to the cause and action similar to the cause. Again, the experience similar to the cause is once you exhaust the karma that gets you into the lower rebirth and you end up in a better rebirth, you'll still have experiences of that negativity happening to you. So in the case of stealing, for instance, the results of stealing could be that you experience you never have enough money, you're poor, you always struggle with money, you lose money. So those are experiences similar to the cause. If you have actions similar to the cause, if it's ripening like that, once you exhaust the karma that gets you into the lower realm, you come back in, let's say, human realm, and you still have a tendency to steal. There's still an imprint of wanting to steal, wanting to take what isn't offered, or borrowing without asking. And then the fourth is environmental results. So again, an unfortunate environmental result, for instance, of divisive speech or harsh speech is you often end up working with
I think Ven Amy's frozen. Okay, what shall we do? No, I don't have a phone number to get hold of her. I'll put a message in the chat. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, she exited. Okay. Let me just, hopefully she comes back. Otherwise, we'll just have to do a self-managed afternoon on karma. Oh dear. Did you have time to think about the other non-virtuous actions and their karmic imprints? Just find it difficult sometimes, but worth a try.
I was a bit busy over lunchtime, just getting lunch and sorting the dog out. But what Ven Amy had said about like the sort of homework as it was last night, there's a phrase or saying, I don't know where it comes from, but it's always struck very strongly a chord with me, which is everyone is free to do exactly as they want, but no one is free from the consequences of their actions. And that, I just thought, well, that just kind of sums it up for me. That's how I apprehend this idea of whether it's karma or free will or predetermined or whatever. That's my two penneth anyway. That's it.
Oh, thank you very much, Celia. But it's interesting how. Sorry, Louise, did
Sorry,
you?
no. Yeah, I was just saying that in response to what Celia said, it's interesting though the karmic ripening results of the action similar to the cause. Do we actually have free will? If we've not got mindfulness and we're not conscious of what we're doing in the moment or conscious of the present moment, and we've got karma ripening as the action similar to our previous causes, then is there free will?
I think that's a
I
very
don't
good.
believe that there's free, not in the sense that we think about it. I don't think free will is even a thing. Otherwise I would never need the toilet at 2 a.m, and I would never get down. I would stay happy. You know, it's just all these things come up, especially with the body. I don't think we have free will. And like she was saying, it's down to the moment before, and then the moment before that, and the moment before that. So whatever that continuation is called, that would be the source or whatnot, rather than free will. I don't know. Yeah.
I would tend to think we don't have free will, but we do have agency. Once you have obviously a certain level of awareness, how you respond is up to you. You can choose to respond in a virtuous, positive way or not. And for me, that is agency. I don't think we have free wills. If you believe in karma, you can't believe both in karma and free will.
But isn't it what the path is all about? You know, the path to liberation is the path to freedom, you know, so to be free from attachment and free from aversion, you know, sort of, and free from bias, you know, so it's the goal to be free, isn't it? You know, at the moment we're governed by our you know, attachments and our aversions and our biases, you know, sort of, and isn't that, you know, so the goal, you know, we're not free yet. That's what we're striving to be free. Isn't that the idea?
I think it is. No, I think I agree with you, Laura.
Yeah.
Yes. In that we're in this cyclic existence where we are subject to karma, and what we want to do is get away from that cyclic existence into pure freedom. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
but I think it's connected with the use of reason, actually, as you know, sort of the extent to which you can use your mind, you know, sort of in an uncontaminated way. You know, that there's a, you know, there's, you know, the ability to reason, you know, the ability to reflect, the ability to analyze.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
sort
exactly.
Yeah.
Because when at last we manage to be Buddhas, we still don't have free will because we are so overwhelmed by the suffering. We only can do something about it. We cannot choose. We don't do that, I think. So it's about controlling your mind, seeing what is there, why it is there, and do something about it. Seeing and knowing.
Yeah, seeing.
That is the crux. I don't know the English word, sorry.
no, crux is good.
Crux is good, the crux of the matter. Yes, this is why the studying is so important, isn't it? Just like we are doing this afternoon, you know, well, today.
Yeah.
Just it's through, and I always find it useful, even though you think, oh, I know about karma, you know, it's always so useful to go back over the material, and to go back over the material with another teacher as well, who may explain things a little bit differently, and then you got this click aha moment of something which you hadn't quite understood, which makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
There is Ven Amy coming back.
Oh, good.
Hopefully. So okay, we seem to be having a couple of technology issues.
Mario Deal, I was once participating on a Zoom call, and
Yeah.
something that helped with the connection was
People switching off there.
switching off our cameras, so that it sort of takes up less. I don't understand, but it takes up less bandwidth.
We can try that. I mean, I don't know what the issue is, at which end the issue is, but
yeah.
we can try that.
Yeah.
She's gone again, so. Please come back, people. Can I see faces? Oh dear.
Perhaps we don't have enough good karma to listen to the teachings this afternoon.
Well, today is an auspicious day, according to the Tibetan calendar.
Dolby, and that's not working.
Yes,
Doesn't
here
seem to
she is. Hey, hey.
Ah,
Oh, hello.
Hello, hello.
you're back.
Good to see you back. We've solved free will. We've had a big discussion about free will.
I'm so sorry. My sister's internet's not very stable. I guess one of the channels. Let me just see if I can get a light on as well. Okay. Oh, come on. Let's see. Oh. Okay, hang on a second. Let me see if I can get a light on.
So interestingly, while we are waiting, how do you feel about the disappearance of the teacher? Do you feel anxious, frustrated, patient?
It is what it is.
Yes.
It's the circumstances. We can't do anything about it.
But we
Just
can
wait.
choose-
Maybe she will come back when the internet is back, and maybe not. I don't know.
Very true, Jenny.
I don't know. Could we
We
pray? Say some Tara mantras.
Yeah. We can choose how we feel about it. I know as the host, I'm feeling a bit anxious.
I'd
Now
just
Maggie
like
is
to
going
let-
to do a Mrs. Motivator,
yeah.
which she always does.
Your body sort of kicks in with a little bit of sort of, you know, the agitation, doesn't it? Or the, you know, just moving about and sort of, if I manage that, then, you know, other things fall into place. Or whether I'm concentrating on that and then I don't feel impatient, or I don't know. But no, I think it's relationship, body and mind is fundamental. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's not just exercise, it's not just Mr. Motivator.
Well, that's what I must say for people who sorry, this is, we do morning practice every morning at Jamyang Leeds, 8:30. We have a half-hour morning practice, Monday to Friday. And when Maggie comes, and it's 8:30 in the morning, half the people are asleep. But when Maggie comes,
So I've taken the dog a walk, clean the house. No. And I'm in my 70th year and I'm still going.
well done. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you. Who knows? Who knows?
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, we'll see how it goes. I'm on a personal hotspot with my phone. The wireless doesn't seem to be working in the house for me, so I'm not sure what's happening. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I'm so glad we have found each other. Let me just reopen up my documents. Okay. So we were talking about the ripening results. So I've mentioned, gave a few examples, and we had gone through the 4 actions, the 4 components you need for the karma to fully ripen. So the basis, the thought, you know, which includes the recognition, the motive, the delusion, the deed, and then the completion of that act. So I also wanted to talk a little bit more about, then I want to talk about purification too. Other ripening ways, and we could go through each one looking at the basis and the thing, results similar to the cause, results similar to the experience, and it's good to go through those as you basically get more familiar with how karma ripens. So for instance, and you can notice for your own mind what you need to do to have happier things unfold for you, to have less negative things unfold for you. And I'll give you an example. So if you analyze lying, and again, that's why I asked you when you looked at the 10 non-virtues, what are the basically, what are the 2 or 3 that jumped out for you most? Let's deal with those first, like that. So for instance, if you feel like you've kind of misled people with your speech and lying was one of your things, You look at the ripened results of lying are you take rebirth in a lower realm. That's the ripened results for all the non-virtues. Results similar to the cause, related to experiences similar to the cause, is others don't believe you. Even when you tell the truth, people don't believe you. Okay. Actions similar to the cause is you have a tendency to lie and misrepresent things in your speech. So you can kind of look at that. The environmental result is you live in a world system or among people who cheat you, who deceive you. You can't find anyone to trust. Results of lying. So if that's something that's a theme in your life, then you want to look at, I want to go after lying. And an example I give is with divisive speech, or I think it was idle chatter and gossip. So we had an office manager. She was actually the assistant director at one of the centers I was running, really capable, wonderful woman. And she basically, I noticed this when she told me, when she spoke at a staff meeting, when she spoke in an event in the Gompa, in the meditation hall, and I noticed how people didn't hear her. They didn't listen to her. They didn't listen. So one time she came to me and she said, I can see my speech has no power, which is a result of meaningless speech, meaningless idle chatter. She goes, my speech has no power. So she went after that very consciously to not gossip, to not spend time just chattering. And she was very talkative. So to not chatter about all these meaningless things like that. And then slowly over time, even in that short amount of time we were with her, then things actually could improve. You know, I noticed that myself with some of the non-virtues, that actually some things actually improved like that. So you can, it's a great way to check your activities, your behavioral patterns. Then you want to work with it as much as you can in your spiritual practice, meditation, doing those exercises I said again and again and again, meaning go back into the last time you did the negativity and check, what was your motivation? What were you hoping to accomplish? Did you accomplish it? If you acted on the negativity, how did you feel about it? And then you, over and over, what would be an antidote to apply? And then you slowly work on, in the meditation, applying the antidote, practicing, practicing, practicing. So for different types of karma. Obviously, we've talked about a lot of this. Virtuous karma leads to rebirth in one of the upper realms of existence, virtuous karma. Okay. Upper realms, as some of you know, there's 6 realms of cyclic existence, 6 realms in samsara, 3 lower realms, 3 upper realms. If you look at the wheel of life, let me see if I can bring up, I can just bring up an image of the wheel of life. It's a really powerful, see if we get lucky. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay, so if you look at this, let me know if you can't see something. This is the wheel of life, Tanka. Let me just give you the whole image there. So you see there's a beautiful explanation. You could study this Tanka. Tanka's a religious painting. The demon holding the circle of life there. And there's all these things, the sun and the moon up here that you can't see. But what you see here is, if you want to go around this inner wider circle, okay, these are the 6 realms of cyclic existence. Once again, in the center are those 3 animals I mentioned. So let me zero in. This one is done correctly. Here's the pig, this gray animal. Out of its mouth come the snake and the rooster. So out of its mouth come the pig, representing ignorance, the rooster, attachment or desire, and the snake, anger and hatred. That's the center. And then they show the paths of the dark ring people going down into the lower realms and then coming up into the upper realms. And let me explain these 6 realms, which most of you I think are familiar. This circle here, this middle wider circle. Okay. So if you start at the top, everything above the circle, above that middle line, is upper realms. Everything below the three, and it's actually divided into three at the bottom, are the lower realms. If you look at the center, the bottom, center, and the middle, those are the hell realms. So you can see, you know, beings burning, on the right side, beings freezing in snow, and the standard things you'd think of in hell realms. There's lots of descriptions like that. If you go to this side, you come to the next upper realm, which is called hungry ghost realm. Hungry ghost realm. So you see they have swollen bellies, very thin necks, so the food can't go down, similar to those people that we know on our planet who are starving. The interesting thing about the hungry ghost or grasping spirit realm is they actually can hear Dharma. They have intelligence, they have an ability where even though they spend most of their time searching for any kind of morsel of food, because they're consumed by incredible thirst, incredible hunger, but basically they can hear Dharma like that. So incredibly, and so the hell realm, let's just go back here for a second. What gets you into the hell realms are things like sadistic killing, very intense negativity. What gets you into this realm is intense desire and attachment, uncontrolled desire and attachment, because they're always grasping, always needing something. Now here we come over to the animal realm. This is a realm we can interact with. We know this realm. Animals tend to be consumed with immense lethargy. They sleep a lot of the day. Domestic animals do. Ignorance. Okay, so it doesn't mean there aren't intelligent animals. Okay, yet the pervasive, they're not necessarily listening to the Dharma. I know your cats are in deep samadhi most of the time, have meditative absorption. I know that people say my dog is so intelligent. Clearly they have a level of intelligence, but I don't often see animals in Gompas studying Dharma. They're just not able to do that. It's not part of their realm. So again, the domesticated animals we have are the very peak of the animal realm. So so when we think about animals, we go, my dog, it's great to be an animal. I want to come back as a cat. Be very careful for what you wish for. Okay. The Tibetans say, if you had your mind in that animal for 1 second, you'd completely freak out. Okay. Because most animals live in the wild. They're not domesticated, having a nice cushion to lie on, having food all the time, having safety. Most animals live in the wild, and think about it. You have to analyze. They're consumed with feeding themselves. So they're eating most of the day like elephants. Some of them are killing to eat. They're eating in tremendous fear that another animal may kill them and eat them. They're going to the bathroom. They're sleeping, or they're making more animals. Please think about it. That is the majority of the animal realm of what they're doing. So these are the lower realms of existence. And the animal realm, what gets you in there is dominated by ignorance, lethargy, sleeping during the day if you don't have a night job, like that, a sluggishness, and things like that. So the upper realms, let me show you the upper realms. And this is done correctly, this image. So you see on the right side, the crescent, large crescent space, is not divided into two. It's just one whole space. And those are the two God realms. So the middle God realm is actually the hedonistic God realm. And the right side one, where you see the arrows flying, is a jealous God realm. So those jealous gods look at the hedonistic ones, and they have this strong desire. They always want to be there. But they combine in this image both God realms together. Now the God realms sound pretty good. You have every great advantage and pleasure, and except for the jealous ones who are consumed with jealousy. But the hedonistic God realm sounds like that was a place when I heard about the Dharma, I thought, this is a place I want to go. Sounds good. But the thing is, you're not enlightened in that realm. And you tend to use up so much positive energy that you end up often coming back into a lower realm of existence. You don't have any incentive to practice Dharma because you're just experiencing pleasure all the time. So here we come over to the human realm. This is our realm. Here's our human realm. The thing about the human realm, it's the most optimum from which to get enlightened. And the reason is we have a balance of suffering and leisure. The suffering motivates us to practice. The leisure affords us the time to practice. It's the perfect place for us to get enlightened from. You can see on the right side of that corner, somebody's meditating. You can see people, you know, serving animals and working and helping, and you see people taking teachings with the Buddha. So it's the perfect balance of work, leisure, suffering, leisure, things like that. And then if you look at the larger, more narrow ring on the outside, that's the 12 links of dependent arising, of how, based on fundamental ignorance by this blind person we see in that image right there, how it all starts, that chain of what keeps us mired in samsara, in that circle of cyclic existence. So that's the wheel of life. You often see those painted on the outside of traditional monasteries and nunneries. As you walk into the gompa, as you walk into that space, they will have a wheel of life to remind you of how you want to practice, how you want to be, and things like that. There's a lot more we could say about that tanka. Okay. So again, that's the upper realms of existence, non-virtuous karma that is going to lead you to a rebirth in the lower realms. There's non-fluctuating karma, actions done in connection with different states of concentrations, and that can result in birth in the form and formless realms of existence. And then there's two things called throwing karma and completing karma. Okay, throwing karma is a karmic imprint that has all the four conditions that I mentioned that create a completed act, with the potency that throws you into one of the 6 realms of existence at the time of death, throws you into that next rebirth. Okay, so if you don't have very good throwing karma, let's say you get thrown into a cat rebirth, come back as a cat. Okay. Now, some people may say, well, that's great, but once again, please check the mind, be the mind of the cat, be a cat for a little bit. You do meditation like this to convince yourself the animal realm truly is not where you want to be, not the freedoms that you'd have. Okay. Now, here's the next thing, completing karma. What's completing karma about? Completing karma is, how does that rebirth end up? So on the other hand, it's a karmic imprint that doesn't have all the 4 conditions, not as heavy, okay, for a complete karma. Okay, so it doesn't have the power to throw you into a particular rebirth, but instead it completes the circumstances of that rebirth, completes the circumstances of that rebirth. Okay, so it manifests as either pleasant or unpleasant experiences during your life in accordance to the nature of the karmic imprint. So how does that work? For instance, you take rebirth as a woman, human being, great rebirth, great throwing karma, but a woman in Afghanistan right now, not great completing karma. You're not free to study, not free to do what you want, to make your choices, things like that. Or throwing karma that wasn't good, you come back as a cat, but very good completing karma that has a cat in a very, you know, you're adopted as a pet by somebody that really takes good care of you, living a life of comfort with safety, food, shelter, like that. Nice completing karma for the cat. That's throwing and completing karma. And this is how the differentiation of karmic weight. How does something ripen before something else? This is as much as we can understand. You have heaviness according to the nature of non-virtue. What does that mean? Heaviness according to the nature of non-virtue. What that means is sadistic killing, like killing alone is really heavy. Killing alone is really heavy. So just having killing karma there can be quite heavy on its own if you're used to killing a lot and doing things like that. Okay. Second one, heaviness according to the basic object of the non-virtue. Basic object. Is it a holy object? Is it an ordinary object? So what they say is your guru, your teacher, your parents are incredibly virtuous objects. Your parents gave you this life. Your teacher's trying to guide your mind to enlightenment, like that. So doing something negative, lying to them, saying negative things to them, stealing from them is heavier than just stealing from a friend. They say that isn't guiding your mind to enlightenment, like that. So it's not saying that one person's more valuable than another, but basically a guru who can lead you out of your misery, out of your suffering permanently, is a higher object, like that. Certainly your parents and things like that. Okay. Heaviness according to your intention. What's your motivation in doing the non-virtue? We many times, I mentioned, stepped on insects accidentally, didn't intend that, happens. So much lesser ripening, heavy ripening result than intending to kill insects, intending to torture in a bad way before somebody dies, being happy about that happening, very heavy based on that mindset, that intention. Heaviness according to the action involved. So for instance, if you're keeping certain vows, so let's say as a lay person, you took lay vows. Lay vows are not to kill, which includes insects, not to steal, not to commit sexual misconduct, not to lie. And it mainly refers to lying about spiritual realizations, and not to have any intoxicants. So things that make the mind imbalanced, right? And you can go through a lay vow ceremony, and most teachers allow you, you have to take the killing one, not killing, but they allow you to take whichever of the other four you want to take. So most teachers allow you to, you don't have to take all 5, but you can take a few. And then if you want to take more additional ones, you can take again, can do and add another one. So for instance, if you take those vows and you take them with a good intent, right? And then you kind of realize you're lying about, spiritual endeavors, that you got this realization or something, you took that initiation when you didn't take it. Then based on that, it can be heavy. Based on that, it can be heavy. Took a vow not to drink, you're drinking with intention, you're drinking, you don't really care, heavy because of that. Here's another one, heaviness according to the frequency of the non-virtue. This is where gossip gets intense. So because we do it so regularly, you're going on and on and on about the movie that you saw. And your friends aren't really interested in hearing the whole plot twist, and they don't want to hear, I know some people that explain, you're going to watch the movie and they give you the whole, so you're not that interested, but you go on and on and on, is kind of frequency, where you're just used to talking about your sporting team. You're used to talking about just chatter. And heaviness according to your non-virtue being without any opponent. So you're continually doing non-virtues and you don't really care. You're not going to do any purification. I don't need to, it's just how I am. So that can create a heaviness in the karma of how it ripens. So the karma that is heaviest tends to ripen first, is what the Buddha said. The karma that is heaviest, sadistic killing, a lot of sadistic killing may ripen first and get you into a lower rebirth with a lot of suffering, right? If 2 karmas are of equal weight, whichever was created nearest to the time of death tends to be the one that will ripen first. Tends to be the one that ripens first. If that's also the same, where they're both ripening at the close to the time of death, whichever karma is more habitual will ripen first. And if that's also the same, whichever karma was created first will ripen first. So they have these minor distinctions. So this is something, while it gets more intricate, of getting closer to the death time, why things get more intricate. And they also say, based on your life, your activities, you want to keep your mind clearer and clearer and clearer if you can as you're approaching death. This is why our spiritual practice is so important. This is why our habits are so important, right? So based on, look at what habits you have now, you can change anything. I know it takes effort because I know my own mind. I know it takes effort to make a new habit. They say it takes at least 2 weeks of regular doing something that can create a new habit. About 2 weeks of doing something every day. It's possible to do, but it takes effort. So again, think about what your mind's most familiar with. And they often say, if you're concerned, people a lot of times want to know, what was their past life? What was their past life? People ask me, they say, did you ever ask Lama Zopa what your past life? I'm not interested in my past life. I'm interested in where I'm going. Past life is done. But they say, if you're interested in your past life, look at your current body now, because there's imprints that will create the kind of body that you have. Certain imprints you've done. And they say, if you want to know about your future life, where you're going, look at your mind now, because those habits, those imprints are going to take you further, So again, don't freak out about you hear and you go, this is how I am, and I'm 75 years old, and you can start changing at any juncture at all. I know a guy that met the Dharma at 65, a guy from New York. I met him in India, wonderful man. He practiced for the last 20 years of his life. He started teaching Dharma. He was a great practitioner and very sincere person, and 85 passed away, very peaceful, 20 years imprint, very strong imprint, good enough. He tried his best. And so at any moment you can continue to ignite past imprints, positive imprints, create more positive imprints, start studying, and you wouldn't believe what would unfold for you. You think you need someone, but sometimes something will just pop that positive seed, and suddenly you're very interested in reading that book on emptiness or getting into that study program. It's perfectly possible. So again, think about, what am I preparing my life for the death time? What am I preparing my life for? That's important. How do I want my mind to be at the death time? We want it to be peaceful. We want it to be without any regrets. Okay, so this is the time you want to look at that now. What would I regret now? What am I, when I'm going to be, and so that's why we have, before this comes the teaching on death and impermanence. If you've spent a lot of time meditating on that, studying that, going through what's called the 9-point death meditation, you can get very familiar, feeling like, I better get going on this. I can't waste any more time, and really starting to make some great imprints, really starting to get the meditation and study practice going. You get a little bit of a fire lit under you, as they say. Really possible. Okay. But then understanding how to conduct myself. So we're cleaning up the behavior of our mind, cleaning up our activities of body, speech, and mind as much as we can. And we'll see if that car continues on. I'll run up and get my earphones. So let me just run up, because there is a little bit of distraction here. I'll be right back. Okay, let me see if I can get these going. And how about now? Okay, wonderful. Thought it might be a little quieter for you guys. Okay, we'll see. Thank you so much for your patience. Okay. So again, think about what you would like to have happen in your mind in life right now as you're moving to death. And again, let's just be realistic. You do what you can do. We can't do it all, okay? But you do what you can do. And you're just gonna try your best. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't feel like you're overwhelmed. Which study group do I start with? What program? There's so many things out there online. Okay. But it's really nice. We have our intro courses. We have Discovering Buddhism is a nice intermediate lining that's often an intro as well. Geshe Namdak is phenomenal, teaching at the London Center online. Some of his programs are great. There's a lot of things online. Don't overwhelm yourself. Right? You start with one program, go through, see what's the next, what's module 2, what's module 3, just slowly go through. I was amazed that some people in the pandemic for 2 years, got themselves through a whole program. They said, well, I was working full time, but so I got to some trainings I had wanted to do, and you just do your best. You do what's reasonable, but you do need to a little bit, if you want to move along a spiritual path, look at what imprints you're making. Look at what am I spending time doing that might be a waste of time? There are some activities, and I'm not just talking about a break. We all need breaks. But what am I a little bit overindulging in something that, and I know with people, they come to me and they say, oh my God, my social media, every day I waste like 1 to 2 hours just spacing through news things and videos. So instead of giving it all up, why don't you just reduce a half an hour? And get clear that you make a commitment that you're going to do it. So I mentioned in the Salisbury group the other couple nights of the week I was teaching is there's a buddy system. And because Leeds has an actual center, I think there's a bit more of you in some ways as a center in general. A few centers I've done in the States is, and it may be more of an American thing, but there's a buddy system if you'd like. Here's a suggestion. With the buddy system, what you can do as a center, and sometimes we could just do it in the class, is we usually do it when I have a class that's meeting weekly for several weeks. So there's people that struggle, people that don't have motivation. They're like, I'm not going to get a meditation practice set up. And so would you like to have a buddy? And the buddy is somebody you don't know, or you don't know them very well. It's optional. And people raised their hands and they wanted to be, I first did it in person at a center. So I matched a few couples up, people who didn't know each other. They exchanged contact info. So for instance, if you didn't want to get a phone call, you just gave your email address. Completely up to them. Some gave phones, some said, I only want to text. I only do this kind of messenger. You can email me. You can call. And what they would do is they decided between the two of them what they wanted to do. So for instance, one couple didn't know each other. They got to know each other just via text. And then they said, I kind of was interested in reading that book that Amy mentioned. And the other one said, so do I. So they decided over the course of weeks, they would read, and they take a chapter a week and read it. And then what they would do is they text each other little impressions they were having. That's how light it started, just like that. It wasn't any obligation, but they kind of agreed on their own terms. We'll text like 2 to 3 times a week. So another couple wanted to get a meditation practice started. These are people that didn't know each other. So they started with, well, we have the instructions from Amy or some other teacher, right? And then what they do is, let's pick Monday, Wednesday, Friday next week that we'll meditate, do a meditation. I'm going to start, one of them said 8 a.m. So I've got my 8 to 8:30 slot. And the other one said, let's do it at the same time. Great. So what they do is at 7 a.m., they had permission, contact each other via text. One of them says, I'm not really feeling like doing the meditation this morning. I don't want to. And the other one would say, I'm starting at 8. Like we agreed, like you can do it. So they would basically support each other in doing things. So a few of them are still going several years later. And they said it's been a huge help for them to just have this person. Some of them actually met, they've gone out for coffee, they've gone out for meals when they're close enough. So that's something you could think about as a center. Does it help to have some kind of support? Some of you already know each other, so you're supporting that way, but sometimes it's nice to have someone you don't know that you get to know through that process. And it's your own private personal thing. It's not, you're not reporting into anybody, totally between the two of you, what you decide to do. And then they can inspire you, because some of them will say, oh, did you see this program with this teacher? I'm gonna have a look at that. It's just 6 weeks. I'm thinking of doing it. Do you want to do it with me? And it's ways you can kind of little bit inspire. So it's just a suggestion. So regarding what imprints ripen first, again, think about what you're loading into your consciousness now. What are you loading into your mind now that's going to come up with the death time? What are you completing and getting to in your life that you've wanted to, that isn't going to come up in your death time as a regret? Something you could think about. Okay. So what I want to talk about is what happens when, what happens with the negative karma that I create? What happens with the negative karma I create? And wait, before I get to that, I just want to review, because I know we don't have that much time. So I wanted to make sure I cover all my okay, negativities. Let's see if there's, I think I've covered most of this. Okay, purification. A relationship between remedies and results I wanted to talk about. And so just know all negative karma can be purified. All negative karma can be purified. That's the only positive thing about it. Okay, so now this isn't about creating negative karma because you know you can purify it. Doesn't count like that. Okay. But once you've made mistakes, things you've done in the past you didn't know, everything can be purified. Okay, no matter what was created in this lifetime, in a previous lifetime, everything can be purified. Now I know it's a job. It's a big job, but it can be done. Okay, and you want to get started now. You want to think about, I want to figure out some way to do something right now. Okay, you got this perfect human rebirth, incredibly rare opportunity. Okay, it's passing away soon. Let's talk about different ways we can look at purifying. Okay, so there's different remedies that we can apply. Okay, dealing with the result that ripens in our rebirth. That's the first one. What ripens in our rebirth? Okay, you can purify that by taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. By taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. You can purify that negative lower rebirth, okay? By taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. So I just want to bring up this prayer once again that we started yesterday. Just want to explain this briefly. Most of you are very familiar with the 4-line refuge and bodhicitta prayer. Okay, I'm bringing up this prayer that is not the one we do before the teachings. This is the one you do in your own general practice. And most people, if they take refuge with me, I say, can you please do this for 3 times in the morning, recite it with feeling 3 times in the evening, or 3 times later in the day. This contains the whole path. But what happens is we recite this prayer, blah, blah, blah. We say, Sangye Chodon Soge, everybody knows the prayer without much feeling, without much understanding. Okay, so it involves you understanding a little bit more about refuge, which is another Discovering Buddhism course. Okay, to understand the qualities of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, as I said last night, to understand those qualities, So then you have more heartfelt faith in why you're taking refuge and seeking protection from the three jewels. It's really the only ultimate refuge. Everything else is superficial and gives you temporary relief, but it's not really going to transform your mind permanently from suffering. And you might say, well, it's good enough for this life. There are a lot of people practicing that say it's good enough. It's good enough. That's okay, but you're only going to get so far, and you're going to be back in cyclic existence again and again and again with the same problems, the same suffering, same loss of, loss of people, loss of your same birth and death over and over and over. It's exhausting. Okay. So then and then the third line, by my merits from giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Bodhicitta. Bodhicitta. So basically, bodhicitta is a Sanskrit term. Bodhi is enlightenment. Citta is mind. So the mind of enlightenment is I want to become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Okay, great. So what happens, my merits from giving and other perfections is talking about the 6 perfections, which are perfect behaviors that you practice in order to get bodhicitta. Giving is the first one. Ethical conduct, patience, joyous effort, concentration, and wisdom. So we don't have time to go into those. Those are part of a bodhicitta teaching, but it's helpful to get some of those courses done, to study a little bit of bodhicitta, to realize, when am I not happy, right? When I'm thinking about myself. And again, as we explored the other night, most people feel like they spend most of their time thinking about themselves. And it's true. That's what we do. It's normal for humans. So the more I can kind of expand my thing to think of others, there's where your happiness lies. There's where your happiness lies. Famous Lojong teachings. For instance, the 59 Lojong slogans from Master Atisha, one of the most famous ones says, place all the blame on one. Place all the blame on one. What's the one? Your self-cherishing. Your self-cherishing, meaning your self-absorption, your selfishness, okay? Not self-compassion. I'm not talking about that. That's a positive. But your self-absorption. So when we get angry at this person, we're angry at this person, there's only one thing to blame, your self-cherishing, okay? So you would slowly meditate on each of those perfections, understand the nature of them, understand what it looks like in emptiness, like how would that be in emptiness? You imagine what would be the point of bodhicitta, and you progress along that to develop bodhicitta, as well as meditating on the 2 methods that bring about bodhicitta. 6-point cause and effect method, more prevalently taught, that came down from Master Sorlingpa in Indonesia, and the equalizing and exchanging self with others method that came to us from Master Shantideva. Both methods originally from the Buddha. Okay. The second method was a little bit more secret, a little bit more radical, to think of taking others' suffering, offering happiness, but basically a couple methods you can study, meditate on slowly. Okay. And the purpose is so that I can become a Buddha, the last line, to benefit all sentient beings. So not only doing this prayer with meaning and understanding, but slowly, I'm just going to stop the share is in order to purify what I had just mentioned of, get rid of that. To basically purify the remedy, the result that ripens in our rebirth, is what you can then do is do a refuge nundro, or refuge practice, where you're visualizing the Buddha or your guru in space in front, and visualizing light rays. There's a certain practice you can do as a refuge nundro, preliminary practice. Light rays are coming, and the first light rays are purifying any obstacles from taking pure refuge in your teacher and in the Dharma, and then golden light rays granting you all the blessings and realizations. You can slowly learn how to do that practice. Do a little bit every day if you like, or a few times a week. You can be counting some of the refuge mantras, and it's a longer explanation, but you're developing refuge in you while you're studying some information about pure refuge. So again, this helps purify negative rebirth. You can study more about bodhicitta, do some of the meditations on those practices to develop bodhicitta, and that helps again purify the whatever karma would ripen in taking the lower rebirth. Here's a remedy dealing with the result similar to the cause in your experience, okay, is purified by regret. Purified by regret. So for instance, this is the experience if you're killing and then you finally get back into a human rebirth, but you are experiencing, you have a very short life, you're very sick all the time, you're living in a war-torn country. These are all the results similar to the experience of killing. So if you have deep regret after you kill, after you accidentally kill an insect, you decide to get your home exterminated, but you have deep regret about it, like sincere regret. Anything like that, you hit an animal with your car, deep regret. So that regret super helps you purify that. Again, different from guilt. Okay, because guilt doesn't go to the next level of that I'm going to do a remedy and purify. Okay. Third, the result that purifies the karma that ripens, that looks like the cause of our actions, similar to the cause in our actions. So again, with killing, I finally make it back into the human rebirth. I have a tendency to kill again. Okay. This is purified by a resolve. I'm not going to repeat that action again. Not going to repeat the action again. And the last one, the remedy that deals with the result ripening in the environmental result is purified by reciting certain mantras, prostrations, visualizations. So this all corresponds to the Vajrasattva practice and doing it with something called the 4 opponent powers, which are these 4 remedies I just mentioned. Okay. So we're going to do this Vajrasattva practice. And what you do is to really do effective purification. You want to do it with, again, these 4 opponent powers, makes it stronger. So Vajrasattva practice isn't something we want to do while watching TV, watching a film. You really want to be in your meditation space, clearly bring up the visualization, do the 4 opponent powers with some mindfulness, do your mantras and visualization, and dedicate the merit like that. Then it's going to work most effectively for you, right? And you can, again, purify. And most people say they do it once a day, particularly evening, to clear away all the stuff we've done, all the gunk we've done all day. Really, they usually feel quite helpful when they go to sleep like that. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to share this Vajrasattva practice I like to do. So this is a solitary Vajrasattva. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with this practice or have seen this deity before. Now, he does look like a lot of other Buddhist deities. This is simply, think of him as an aspect of the omniscient mind, an aspect of the omniscient mind that is helping us purify. That's his purpose, okay? So you see him seated on a beautiful, open, multicolored lotus. There's some slight variations in the descriptions. His feet in the full Vajra posture. And what I'm going to do, hang on one second. Just going to see if I can move myself back upstairs. Okay, hang on one second. I'll be right back. Okay. You can still hear me? Great. Okay. Excuse me. Here's our lovely Vajrasattva. And again, you want to imagine in the space in front he's like a crystal being. When you do deity practices, and this is a practice you can do because we're not visualizing ourself as a deity. So normally you would not visualize yourself like that until you've had highest yoga tantra practice. It's quite important and serious. You can create obstacles in your practice if you're doing tantra practices without the proper initiation. Once you do, it's great. Then you can do, it's more powerful, but it's perfectly fine to do a Vajrasattva practice. And eventually we'll be visualizing Vajrasattva over top our crown, about 6 inches in height, facing the same direction as us. But anytime you want to visualize these deities, they say it's best to do in the nature of light. Everything's in the nature of light. So you really bring a lightness to your mind. And remember, we're trying to get enlightened, not heavied, right? So, but he's like a crystal, radiant crystal being. You would first visualize him in the space in front of you, slightly higher than the level of your head, on this beautiful lotus flower. And there's more elaborate ways to bring up the visualization. Let's just keep it simple. He's facing you. He's about 6 inches in height. If you need to make him larger, feel free, no problem. And he's draped, as you can see, in these beautiful silks, draped, adorned with many jewels. Just make him bigger for a second. There we go. Legs crossed in the full Vajra. At his left thigh, you can see he's holding a bell, which represents emptiness. His right hand is at his heart, holding a little Vajra. Vajra in Sanskrit, Dorje in Tibetan, which is like a little thunderbolt. And that represents our method, bodhicitta, which involves compassion and empathy. So again, the method is our way, and the view is emptiness. So they're always together, the heart, the bell, and the dorje, to remind us of bliss and void, bliss and void. So, and then what we're going to do is, if you want to visualize right now, just put yourself in a good meditation posture. And visualize the Vajrasattva in the space in front of you, as if he's really there. And you can imagine that he's really just an emanation of the Buddha, if that's helpful for your mind, emanation of your teacher. All of them are actually one in this practice. That's even more powerful for your mind. And then what I like to start with, of those 4 opponent powers that I mentioned, is I start with regret. I like to start with regret. So I like to think of, and please think of, a negativity that you did this past week, something with your body, speech, and mind you regretted, something further back in your past, or sometimes I'll just say, since beginningless time, I regret all the negativities that I've done, all those negativities. And so just to begin, close your eyes for a moment, rekindle your motivation in thinking, we're doing this Vajrasattva practice now to help purify whatever negative tendencies I can right now. In this short session, whatever I can possibly do. And the reason I want to purify is to propel myself along a path to full awakening, so I can get enlightened, from that space, benefit all living beings. Just feel that in your heart. That's why we're doing this practice right now. And then the first power of regret. So bringing up to mind some activity, as I mentioned this past week, further in the past, really bring it to heart where you feel the sorrow, you feel the sadness for whatever you did with your body, speech, and mind. You made a mistake, it happened, but feel it as deeply as you can for a moment. And this is from Lama Zopa Rinpoche. I'm just going to read from the text here. I think you can all see it. Yes. Okay, I'm just going to make it larger. And Rinpoche says, think in this way. Almost every action I do, 24 hours a day, is motivated by worldly concern, attachment to the comfort of this life. It is like this from birth to death in this life, and has been like that through beginningless rebirths. So many actions I do have been non-virtuous, the cause of suffering. I've also created the heaviest of negative karmas in relation to my teachers, getting angry at them, generating wrong views, having non-devotional thoughts, etc. Having these negative imprints on my mental continuum is unbearable. It's as if I've swallowed a lethal poison. So I must practice the antidote right away, right now, and purify this negative karma without a second's delay. Feel that urgency and regret right now. The second opponent power is the power of refuge or reliance. Refuge or reliance. This is what, again, we said purifies the rebirth in a lower, what kind of rebirth we're going to take if it's going to be a lower rebirth. So here Rinpoche says we rely upon a doctor when we're sick. We take the medicine. So to purify our deluded actions, we rely upon the Buddha. We rely upon other beings, but even the very beings we've harmed. So we want to generate a sense of compassion for them and make the wish to purify for their sake. So we can, in a sense, from your heart, think of Vajrasattva in the space in front. Can you help me? I'm seeking you out now to protect me from more suffering. Can you help me effectively do this purification practice? As much as you can, feel that refuge in your heart. And then bring Vajrasattva to your crown. So the front visualization, bring him over top your crown, again about 6 inches in height. Feel the presence there as much as you can. And we're going to recite these refuge prayers you find that are on the screen right now. If you recite together, you can. If not, just feel that experience of refuge as much as you can. We'll recite 3 times. I forever take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, in all the 3 vehicles, in the dakinis of secret mantra yoga, in the heroes and heroines, in the empowering goddesses and the bodhisattvas. But most of all, I take refuge in my holy Guru forever. I forever take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, in all the three vehicles, in the Dakinis, the secret mantra yoga, in the heroes and heroines, in the empowering goddesses and the bodhisattvas, but most of all, I take refuge in my holy Guru forever. I forever take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, in all the three vehicles, in Dakinis, the secret mantra yoga, in the heroes and heroines, in the empowering goddesses and the bodhisattvas, but most of all, I take refuge in my holy Guru forever. And so now imagine at Guru Vajrasattva's heart, there's a little moon disc lying flat. Okay, on top of that little moon disc is his seed syllable, the letter Hung. And you can just visualize H-U-N-G or H-U-M standing upright in the nature of white light. Moon disc in the nature of white light. Around the edge of the moon disc, standing clockwise, is his 100-syllable mantra, like a strand of radiant pearls, radiating light. So they give this triple image, and you can, if you want to get, if you have better visualizations, some people visualize the moon disc as like a conch shell white, the Hung syllable in the center silvery, and the strand again like pearls around the outside of that moon disc. Light rays begin to emanate from the Hung and the mantra garland at his heart, fills his whole body, and explodes out of all of his pores, streams out, and goes to all the 10 directions, hooking back the energy of all the enlightened beings in the universe. So light rays come streaming back into his body, right into the center of the heart, fully energizing him. And then here there's an additional paragraph about Bodhi. So once again, remembering bodhicitta, remembering why we're doing this, that I am doing this for all living beings. In fact, I depend on all living beings to become a Buddha. I need them. That thought to help them is what inspires me and motivates me to get to enlightenment. So I need them. And they help me purify my mind, because it's when we're in relation to sentient beings, we see what work we have to do in our mind, right? So we need sentient beings to get enlightened. We need sentient beings to get enlightened. So therefore, as it says here at the end, I must purify all my negative karma immediately for these beings by practicing the Vajrasattva meditation recitation. And so feeling this triple being of Vajrasattva on your crown, inseparable from your Guru, if you have one, inseparable from the Buddha. And here's now the third opponent power, is the power of the remedy. So there's a short Vajrasattva mantra. You can see on your screen, Om Vajrasattva Hung. And there's a long one right here. So we're going to start with the long one, and then you can go back to Om Vajrasattva Hung if you like. If you've memorized the long one, it could take you like 2 to 3 weeks. If you want to memorize something, say it out loud, chant it out loud. You don't have to say it loudly, but if you don't chant out loud, it's harder to memorize. So some people say, well, I listen to a CD of it. It's better to get it going from your own speech ultimately. Because in order to really purify, you need to recite the mantra yourself. So always helpful to listen to the mantra, but better to start reciting out loud if you want to memorize like that and get the mantra down. So we're going to try our best. And so what you're going to do is there's different visualizations. The first visualization is purifying the body. And you're going to visualize that Vajrasattva, all the light starts to come from the mantra garland and the Hung at his heart, again streaming out through all of his pores and now coming down through your crown, cascading like a radiant waterfall of purifying energy. And the first visualization is it drives down and out all the negativities you've done, particularly with your body, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. And all those negativities exit you through the lower openings of your body. So as if this gunky, all this, and it says here, all this negative energy is expelled. the forms of snakes, scorpions, ants, black tar, dirty water, dirty black oil, coming out the lower openings until it's completely purified. So let's try to visualize this a little bit as we recite 3 mantras together. Try your best. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajrasattva Dinopa Dida Dido Me Baba Sutokaya Me Baba Subhokaya Me Baba Anurakto Me Baba Sarva Siddhi Me Prayata Sarva Karma Susame Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Bhuta Vajra Baba Mahasamaya Sarva Ahum Pe. Let's look at the meaning generally. Just below, you Vajrasattva have generated the holy mind bodhicitta according to your pledge. Your holy mind is enriched with the simultaneous holy actions of releasing all living beings from samsara. Whatever happens in my life, happiness or suffering, good or bad, with a pleased holy mind, never give up, but please guide me. Please stabilize all happiness, including the happiness of the upper realms, actualize all actions, and sublime and common realizations, and please make the glory of the 5 wisdoms abide in my heart. 2 more times. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajrasattva Dinapa Dida Dido Me Baba Sutokaya Me Baba Supokaya Me Baba Anurakto Me Baba Sarva Siddhi Me Prayata Sarva Karma Susame Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Sa Aum Pe. Om Vajra Sarva Samaya Manubalaya Vajra Sarva Dinapa Dida Dida Sutokaya Me Baba Supokaya Me Baba Anurakto Me Baba Sarva Siddhi Me Prayata Sarva Karma Susame Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajramame Bhuta Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Sattva Amen. So normally when there's more time, you try to do 7 of each of the visualizations. So this purifying body, just feel that you've definitely purified something from your body, even though we may not have purified everything. And again, feel, as it says here, you're completely purified, clean, clear, as Lama Yeshu would say. Gross negativities, subtle negativities, you're overcome with blissful energy, purifying negativities of the body. And really imagine you've definitely purified something. Purifying the speech, the nectar and light rays continue to descend from Vajrasattva's heart down through our crown. And now it pushes down all the negativities we've done with our body. And then, like when you have water at the bottom of a dirty water glass, the dirt, as you pour the water continuously in, the dirt ends up rising back over the rim. So this is purification of speech. So the negativities are going to come back up and out, all the upper openings of your body, until they're completely gone, purifying lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and gossip. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manubalaya Vajrasattva Dinapa Dida Dida Baba Sutokaya Me Baba Supokaya Me Baba Anurakto me bhava, sarva siddhi me prayata, sarva karma susame, sitam shriyam kuruhom, ha 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 ho bhagavan, sarva tata gata vajrama me mutsa, vajrabhava mahasamaya sarva ahum pe. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupala Vajra Sattva Dino Padida Dida Me Baba Sutokaya Me Baba Supokaya Me Baba Anurakto Me Baba Sarva Siddhi Me Prayata Sarva Karma Susam Sitam Shriyam Guruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajra Mame Mutta Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Dina Padida Dida Me Baba Sutokaya Me Baba Supokaya me baba, anurakto me baba, sarva siddhi me prayata, sarva karma susame, sitam shriyam kuruhum, ha 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 ho bhagavan, sarva tata gata vajrama me bhutsa, vajra bhava mahasamaya sa, ahum pe. Feeling happy that your speech is completely purified. And again, if you feel it's not completely purified, at least we have reduced some of the negativities, some of the negative imprints. Mind, the light and nectar continues down through our crown and now going directly to the heart center where there's a constricted knot of all the negativities we've done with our mind, of covetousness, ill will, holding wrong views. As the light nectar descends, diminishes, purifies that negative knot of all those negativities of our mind. Sutokaya me baba, supokaya me baba, anurakto me baba, sarva siddhi me prayata, sarva karma susam, sitam shriyam kuruhum, ha 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 ho bhagavan, sarva tata gata, vajra mame, vajra baba, mahasamaya sarva ahum te. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Dina Padida Dida Me Baba Sutokaya Me Baba Supokaya Me Baba Anurakta Me Baba Sarva Siddhi Me Prayata Sarva Karma Susame Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajrama Me Mutsa Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajra Sattva Dina Padida Dida Me Baba Sutokaya Me Baba Supokaya Me Baba Anurakto Me Baba Sarva Siddhi Me Prayata Sarva Karma Susam Sitam Shriyam Kuruhum Ha 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 ho Bhagavan Sarva Tata Gata Vajra Mame Buddha Vajra Bhava Mahasamaya Sattva Ahum Pe. So feel that all your delusions, which are the cause of the harm we do with our mind, are totally purified, completely finished. No space in your heart now for anything but love, kindness, forgiveness, wisdom, bliss, and compassion. The fourth opponent power is the power of restraint. And this purifies again the causes similar to the tendency to want to do the negativity again. So again, rather than saying, I'll never get angry again, if that was one of the things you were focused on that you regret in the beginning, I'll never snap at someone again, I'll never lie again, I'll never gossip again. That's unlikely. So let's make it realistic. So set a realistic time period. So for instance, if anger is one of the things and you were snippy with someone or had a negative thought about someone, just think for the first 5 minutes, for the first 5 minutes of that time, I will not get angry at them. I will control my speech, control my negative thoughts about them. That's something we can keep. And that creates a new neural pathway for you if you keep it. So just think right now, make this determination in your heart. Vajrasattva over your crown. I will refrain from doing whatever negativity I was focused on. And then set your realistic time period. And think that Vajrasattva is extremely pleased with our practice and says, child of the lineage, all your negativities, all your broken vows are now all completely purified. So even if we think we've not purified everything, if you have faith, you have purified something, creates a deeper level of purification. Just try to feel that as much as you can. You've definitely purified something. And imagine Vajrasattva over top your crown now dissolves from the edges of the visualization into a radiant drop of light, crystal drop that melts into your crown. Just feel the blessings right now of Vajrasattva's holy body, holy speech, and holy mind. And any understanding you have of emptiness, very helpful to meditate here. In emptiness, there is no I, no inherently existent I, that is a creator of negative karma. There's no action of creating negative karma. And there's no negative karma created, ultimately. Any understanding you have of emptiness, please reflect for a moment. And then we have 2 dedication prayers here. You're welcome to join in. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of Guru Vajrasattva and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. So that concludes a brief Vajrasattva meditation. And again, if you've had highest Yoga Tantra initiation, you might add a 4th visualization to purify subtle obscurations to omniscience. Subtle obscurations to omniscience. So what you would do is try to visualize all 3 of the visualizations of body, speech, and mind simultaneously. It's a little bit more challenging. And technically, you would recite 7 mantras for each of the visualizations. So at least minimally 21, preferably of the long mantra if you can learn it, and 28 of the short mantra, Om Vajra Sattva Hong. And then what you can do is, if there's more time, you slowly recite on your own. You can recite at any pace that you like. So once you learn it, you can recite more quickly. But His Holiness the Dalai Lama says if you're very fast with the Vajrasattva mantra, which you can be once you learn it, not to recite a mala, like an entire rosary, in less than 10 minutes. So initially, if you're trying, it might take you 20 minutes just to get to this many, okay? But once you learn it more quickly, if you're doing it in a retreat setting, it gets much quicker. So again, slowly practice, but you don't want to recite. You do need to enunciate clearly if you're reciting it, even in a group setting, so that air actually leaves your mouth, but not too loud to disturb the person seated next to you. So that's the one effective purification practice, Vajrasattva practice meditation with visualization with the 4 opponent powers. Please, any questions so far on anything we've talked about or the Vajrasattva practice? Have most of you done the Vajrasattva, been exposed to the Vajrasattva practice before? Yeah, I'd imagine most of you have, some not. Okay, so no worries. Yeah, it's a great practice. So the thing is, Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, once you hear about the practice, once you learn it, and certainly the lead center could make available to you the practice online, and you could find it online. You want to get the pronunciation as best as you can. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, so it is in Sanskrit. And so you do want to try to get the pronunciation accurate, because once you make mistakes in the mantras, it's hard to undo those. You want to pronounce it properly. And then Rinpoche says, if once you've learned it, you're crazy not to do it every day. Crazy not to do it, because it really does keep things at a minimal level like that.
I just wanted to say we offer it online every week on Tuesday. I think at 7 o'clock. I'm not sure exactly about the time, but every week on Tuesdays we offer the Vajrasattva practice.
Perfect.
Want to join?
So that's fantastic, and that's a great service that centers do. That if you're new to it, then you can do a bit of a group thing and just do it online with people. It's fantastic. So sometimes it's hard to get started on our own. We're not sure we're doing it properly. We forget components of it. Also, don't make it too complicated for yourself if you're doing it on your own, but do learn it well and then try to continue as much as you can. Really, really important. Okay, so let's see, just to finish up a little bit. Okay, let me just find this. Oops. Sorry, it's taking a little time. Okay, here we go. So one of the things I also want to talk about is, I mentioned rejoicing a little bit before, and yeah, great. I want to talk about also the disadvantages of anger, what tends to destroy positive karma. Rejoicing is, once again, the easiest way to accumulate positive energy, merit. We call it merit, rejoicing. And I mentioned about, practicing rejoicing. So it's a really easy way of, right now, it's the season in Bodh Gaya, India. That's the eastern plains of India. His Holiness the Dalai Lama just finished teaching there. A lot of great beings were there, but a lot of practitioners go there in what's called the season. Some of you have probably gone there. I myself have spent times living there, and the season is generally late September through the middle of March, and then it gets really, really hot. And practitioners are coming there to complete various nundro. Nundro are preliminary practices that help us sweep away negativities, so purify negativities, and accumulate the conditions we need to progress along the path to enlightenment. This is mostly what human beings that meet the Dharma are doing in their lives. So we may not be able to realize emptiness. We may be not able to do a 3-year retreat in this life, but we're basically trying to purify negativities as much as we can through our daily practices, accumulate merit, the conditions you need to progress along the path, to want to study more, to want to do retreats more, to want to progress more. So people are doing things like 100,000 prostrations, doing Vajrasattva retreats, doing mandala offerings. And it's incredibly inspiring to walk around the stupa, which is a large shrine on the site where the Buddha got enlightened. There's a beautiful descendant of the ficus family tree under which he sat, a Bodhi tree. Incredible. And there's all these prayer ceremonies going on. All practitioners from all different Buddhist lineages are there. So inspiring if you could ever visit in the season. And if you're not able to ever go there, your health won't permit it, or you don't have the money, things like that, you don't have the interest, but you just think about people doing those practices there, 100,000 prostrations, and you're happy for them, you get half of the merit. If you have less realizations from them, you get half the merit. If you have more realizations than them, which you're not going to know, but you get twice the merit. So it's the easy way for us. We can just sit here in our chairs, and so rejoicing is very powerful. So every time you hear somebody doing something wonderful to center, you hear services, activities His Holiness the Dalai Lama is doing, activities Lama Zopa Rinpoche is doing, you just have a heartfelt sense of fantastic. It's incredible. It's really incredible. Okay, so let me talk about looking for one other text I had. I'm not sure I'll be able to find this. Let's see. Okay, here we go. If anger is one of your things, I would recommend a book by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. There's several books, great books about countering anger, and one is called Anger. Healing Anger, that relates to this course. It came out some years ago, and it's really, really helpful. And he's basically giving a commentary on Chapter 6 of Master Shantideva's A Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. So that book is called either Bodhicharya in Sanskrit, sometimes called the Bodhisattva Charya Vatara. And basically it's really called The Way of the Bodhisattva, but it's been translated many, many times into English as a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, things like that. Okay. And beautiful teachings on Lojong and how to transform anger, and talking about tolerance. So technically, when we think of anger, they say one of the main antidotes is something called patience, which we've heard of, patience. Okay. In Tibetan, patience is Zopa. It's interesting for me having a teacher named Lama Zopa. Okay. Very helpful to deal with patience, to think about patience. But when we think of patience in our culture, we think where you're like waiting in a doctor's office for your appointment. okay? In the Tibetan system, it's actually how you bear up under harsh circumstances, how you bear up under adversity. That's real patience, okay? So there's different types of tolerance. And tolerance is another word we think of. We're not really often very patient with others or patient with ourselves. Certainly not in the United States, I can say, okay? But we've got a tolerance on some levels you can develop. 3 characteristics of patience, I'd say. Like a tolerance that's based on conscious acceptance of pain and hardships. So if we understand more about the makings, the workings of samsara, that you understand there's going to be problems. People are going to die, unfortunately. People get sick. People get old. Their bodies don't work as well. Things happen. Hardships come to people in samsara. There will always be wars on planet Earth, most probably during our lifetime. There will be starvation. There will be fighting, misunderstandings, ignorance, like that. A second type of characteristic of patience, a tolerance resulting from reflecting on the nature of reality. So realizing everything lacks inherent concreteness, realizing that everything lacks an inherent concreteness. And because most ordinary beings on the planet, human beings, have this level of ignorance where we misknow that about reality, we impute a concrete notion on everything. How can we not have compassion for people? Once you realize we're all making this mistake and then we act from there, how can we not have compassion? So it helps you to develop more of a patience, compassion with beings, okay? And then there's a tolerance towards injury from others. Injury from others, realizing they come from this mistaken notion. They don't know what they're doing sometimes, like children. They don't really know. And the other thing is, if I want to respond to my enemy, if I want to respond to my attacker with more attacks, then I'm going to revisit this again and get attacked again. So we certainly learn from karma how to start transforming, subduing the mind. Now, again, I'm not talking about putting yourself in danger. And I'm not talking about not protecting yourself if someone is attacking you. But Buddhists would normally say if you are being attacked, the first thing before responding back negatively, get yourself out of there to safety if you can. You can get away, run away from the person, because one thing is it may prevent them from doing more harm to another being. Okay, it may prevent you from having to attack them back like that. There's a difference between anger and hatred, okay? Hatred, in a sense, is like an inner enemy. Anger kind of acts out from there. Hatred's like an inner enemy, okay? Where anger tends to act out. And here's the other thing is, please understand where some of these come from. Because in working with a lot of people, a lot of students, people struggling with afflictive emotions of all kinds and things. And what we really notice is if you can peel back the onion of your mind, in a sense, and I've seen this a lot of people posturing, okay? They get angry, but the thing is, for me, anger is sad's bodyguard. So you're sad and you're off balance, and some people fold in on themselves. So you have that experience. Other people act out, and then suddenly anger comes out in postures. So sometimes in the folding in process, people get angry with themselves. You know, I'm worthless, I'm useless, I always do this, I always make mistakes, I sabotage myself, I can't do anything right. Anger directed in, and then some people have angry outbursts out from anger being that bodyguard again. I can't let you see my sadness because that's vulnerability. So better that I will just protect myself. And some of the things I've noticed, I see American culture a lot. Sometimes the pressure on males to be the strong ones, you know, so fathers teaching sons never to cry. You can't cry, that's a weakness. You can't show your feelings, you know. So here comes, you know, a teenage kid, doesn't know how to express his feelings because his dad said that's not what guys do. Can't ever cry because, you know, and ends up hanging himself in suicide because he can't manage, like, or just ends up being a bully in school. It happens quite a lot. Or these young, unfortunate, disenfranchised white men they're finding in the States who are most of the active mass shooters in the States. So not having some ability to kind of say, if a father could say to his son, you know, it's okay to feel lousy. It's okay to hurt sometimes. That's just how life is. You know, it's good if you can talk about it. It's good if you can talk about it. That's okay. It's okay to cry over something. Yeah. To see leaders like His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, cry. You know, I was amazed when Obama, when he was president, he would openly cry a few times. So to show men, it's okay. You can be the president of the United States and you can cry. That's okay. I think very powerful message that we're often holding others hostage by here's how conditioned response, you know, what's okay in this society. So again, as a spiritual practitioner on the Bodhisattva path, you're often feeling that you're going against the grain of the ordinary traditional path, and that's okay. It's hard, but that's why we have centers, and that's why you have the community at a center. You can get support like that, get support there. Any last questions or anything before we finish? Is this helpful, resonating with anybody? Okay, I hope so. I'm going to finish there, and I hope this has been helpful.
Sorry, Ven Amy, there was a question from Timothy.
Please.
What was the answer to the homework question?
Sorry?
What was the correct answer to the homework question about free
yes,
will?
I'm so sorry. We did forget about that. What do you think about that? Is it free will or is it karma? What do you think? Thank you, Timothy, for bringing that up.
Are you asking me?
Anybody, please unmute. Is it karma or do you have free will? What do you think? Based on now that we've had the whole course, what do you think? And again, it takes time to reflect.
It's both in a way.
It's both in a way. Other thoughts about that?
I thought that you can't have both free will and karma, but you can have agency in the way you respond.
You can have agency. Mm-hmm.
You have a choice in how you respond to other people's actions, circumstances, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I
it's
would
all
say
karma.
all of it. Yeah. It's all karma. Okay.
Yeah.
I would say in some ways you're all accurate. You're all right. Here's the way I think of it. This is after much kind of contemplating questions with teachers that I've asked. What I like to think of it is I'm participating in my karma. That's my free will. I'm participating in my karma. Okay. The karma's there unfolding all the time. The karma's, but what it will do is there's many choices in life, as we know. There's many choices we're faced with. And so just what Jenny was saying as well is, then I have a choice to make. So again, when you have a choice to make, and this is something I'm doing a lot with choices I make, I'm asking myself, what's the biggest benefit? What will be the biggest benefit in this? Not just for me, but what's the bigger benefit, you know, for myself and others? What would be the best outcome of this choice? And then I try to keep moving along that path. You know, and that doesn't mean as a human that I'm not going to make mistakes, okay? But occasionally I'm going to check in, try to find yourself an authentic spiritual teacher with high realizations like Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Some of you are connected to Lama Zopa Rinpoche, great, okay? But find somebody authentic like that, and the reason is you can check in once in a while. You know, they're trying to lead you to your own wisdom that makes your decisions. That's the path, is they want to get you independent of them. But initially check in and clarify. And I like eventually where Rinpoche will say, I'll ask something, I want to do this retreat, I want to do that. And Rinpoche say, oh, good idea. And then he'll make an adjustment. He'll go, when you do that retreat in the afternoon, do this practice. Something I wouldn't have thought of. And then that practice is perfect. And I'll go, okay, great. And off I go with the blessings of that teacher, but developing my own wisdom and compassion. That's really the path they want us to to pursue. So I think it's a mix of I personally think, just what Tony was saying, it's all karma. It is all karma unfolding. But then I want to have my eyes open and participate in it. I don't want to just say, oh, it's karma, it doesn't matter. I have choices every moment. And I have to make a decision in those choices. That's my participation. Does that make sense? And that's where I have what seems to be the free will. Now you might say, but doesn't your karma dictate what choice you make? In some ways it does. But that's why I want to clean up my karma. I want to keep having better and better and better choices, and that's the direction I go, with less hindrances and less obstacles. Make sense? But keep thinking about it. Keep thinking about your role of how can you best participate in that process. And try as best as you can to practice and do the Vajrasattva practice and be gentle with yourself, and to continue to explore karma, to look at avoiding those 10 non-virtues and looking at what you can, again, please make small adjustments, make what's possible in your life so that it's something you'll actually do, right? Anything else? Any other questions, comments? I'd like to thank those of you, thank you so much, those of you connected to the center that made this possible, and those of you that have helped and served the center for so many years and are part of the community. And thank you to all of you for showing up. It's been lovely to see some of you, to meet some of you. I hope we can do so soon in person. Would be lovely. And again, think about the Laudo pilgrimage, or there's other things on my website, amymiller.com, if you want to connect with some other programs that I'm doing. And let's just do these final dedication prayers. Okay, here we go. So once again, investing whatever positive energy we've created from all the activities today, these sessions today. Thank you so much for your participation. And may we invest it in our understanding the workings of karma more and more so we can avoid non-virtuous activities, enhance our positive qualities, do effective purification practices that will move us along this path to full awakening so we can be of the most benefit to all living beings. I'd like to dedicate for the war in Ukraine to end immediately, as well as all other conflicts on the planet, and all other beings that need additional healing. May they receive it completely and immediately right now. May the precious Supreme Bodhicitta, not yet born, arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. May the precious view of emptiness, not yet born, arise. May that arisen not decline, but increase more and more. For the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. For Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunath's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Thank you so much. I so appreciate seeing all of you. I wish you all the best. Have a pleasant rest of your day and weekend. And please stay in touch too, if you'd like. And wishing you a wonderful new year ahead.
And thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for all your teachings today and yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And please come back and do some
Yeah.
more teachings for us, please.
I'd love to.
Good.